Okay, so a little bit of an update. So got my paint in. Guess what paint we're going with? Since everybody agreed, we're going gloss black. So that's the paint in the box in there. So I got all the materials that I need other than acetone to thin out the paint. So that's the only last thing that I need to buy before I paint the car, and we'll be good to go. So I've been working on much of the shit that has been unbolted off the car. I'm doing that before I actually get to work on the actual car. Again, I mentioned this because I think it's best to just get this bullshit out of the way before beginning work on the Mustang over there. So I have already started some work off camera, like so this is the passenger side sail panel right here. That one's done. The one that we got from Pick Apart's done. That one's been sanded. So remember how I was telling you I was afraid of all that, the little chips that were on the top? I've completely smoothed it out, and you can't even feel that at all. It feels like there might be a slight ridge, honestly, in there, but I can barely even feel it, so it's probably not going to show up in the paint. What you were seeing was the paint was actually pretty much coming off of the sail panel because of so much sun damage and how old the car was. And the black, I think this is probably the primer, a secondary primer. It's kind of weird how the factory painted these. So the white's the fiberglass. The black must be some kind of primer they put on it. Then they put another kind of primer, and then they put the paint. So very interesting. So what kind of work begins today? Well, I thought it would be best to get one of the biggest unbolted things off the car, and that would be the spoiler. So we're going to be sanding the spoiler. When my uncle initially painted this spoiler, I don't really handle paint because I'm not really good with paint. If anything, my luck, I'll probably get a run in it. That's why I don't really like fucking with paint. And exactly for that very same reason, trying to see if I can find it. Oh, it's right here. So we did get a run in it when we first initially painted the car, but you couldn't see it because it's actually underneath the spoiler, so it's not too bad. But there's a run right where my index finger is. You can kind of see it highlight up in there, right there. So we're gonna have to sand that all the way down. For the most part, though, this will be pretty easy to sand, though, other than the run. How I take that, this would probably take me about 30 minutes to probably prep. Most of these parts are in pretty good shape, honestly, where the paint acts almost as if it's already a primer, and you just gotta probably hit it with 240, and after 240, hit it with 2000 to make it really smooth now, and then you're pretty much done. Let me see here. So after that, we'll get the little plastic trim pieces, which is these two long bar things right there. Actually, before we do those, I actually might do the secondary sail panel pieces, which are those little pieces that you see underneath the taller sail panels. So we'll get those, and then we'll get the plastic parts. So anyways, still coming along, just very slow. I have to work at the same time, so I kind of lose time, but in my hands, honestly, I need to be starting to take a break because my hands are starting to get really raw in terms of just feeling how smooth they are, and they kind of hurt. So but I'm just trying to get this done as quickly as possible before I have to start school. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started on the spoiler here. Okay, so I decided to do these a little off camera. Did both sail panels. Sail panels are completely finished, nice and butter smooth. So the last things to do as far as trim is concerned are those two little pieces right there, and then those two long ones underneath the sail panels. And then all the trim will be done. I think it'll be done before the end of the day. So, and then after that, what will be next will be basically working on the body. I think what I'm going to start with the body first. What I'm going to start with first is getting the dings. So I'm not so focused on actually sanding the whole car just yet. What I'm more focused on are the dings that are in the door. I think there's like 2 of them. So again, we have one. You can see it. There's one right here. And I believe there's one on the lower part, somewhere up in here. I can't remember where it is. I need better lighting. But for sure, there's one right by the door handle right here. So that one's gonna have to be body filled. But for the most part though, this door is actually really good. I think I actually put body filler by this keyhole here too. There's a ding right up in here, so I gotta be really careful not to sand. Either it was on this door or it was on the passenger side door. So I gotta be really careful when I'm sanding, not to sand through the body filler that I've already done on the car, because that'll be really bad to have to redo body filler. I haven't done body filler in a long time, so hopefully I get it down the first few times. Body filler is kind of a finesse. But yeah, so what we're gonna do is pretty much do the last of the trim here. I reckon these longer pieces will probably take me an hour each. I probably think, because they're a very long section. Then you got those grooves that are in there too, those little spiky grooves. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of a nightmare. I mean, you won't really see much of that under the car. I'm not gonna probably be too anal about it, but I'm gonna try my best to do as decent of a job as I can possibly do though. So, all right guys, what I'm gonna do is start with the smaller ones though first, because the smaller ones will obviously take less time. I reckon those will probably take me 20 minutes each maybe. So let's go ahead and get started. Every single trim piece is done. As far as prepping goes, it all feels pretty smooth to me. Again, we went to 40 grit, then we went to 2000 grit. Everything feels pretty damn good. Check for any high spots. I think it's all ready for paint. There's a lot of nicks in these 2 bottom panels down here. Only one because they're fragile as plastic, and obviously they go up underneath the side of the car, because these are considered the side skirts. So they're prone to getting hit by rocks and all kinds of other shit that, you know, the car runs over. So there's not really a whole lot I can do as far as getting the chips out of the plastic without really going at it, and I'm not too concerned with it because it's going to be hidden under the car anyways. So at least the majority of the damage that's on it is just on these bottom parts here, and I'm just not really too concerned about getting it perfect in terms of you know, stuff that's not going to be seen on the car. So but yeah, everything's pretty much good and ready to go. I don't think I'm going to need to primer it because a lot of this is either plastic or fiberglass, so it's not bare metal, mind you, so everything will attach to it pretty damn easily. So yeah, all that's out of the way, and I thought I'd mention before we end the video here today, Remember that little spacer I found at Pick Apart that was supposed to go to this fender? Well, I had put it right here because this is where originally we found it on the other car. So we put it right here, and it did align it a lot better than without it in terms of this particular area. However, there's still a bit of a crease up here where it's a lot more not flush with the hood. I didn't see another spacer, and the problem is it's too high, so a spacer would make it even higher than where it's already at. So I'm probably just gonna have to live with it, honestly. It's not too horrible, but if we lift the hood down here, and mind your ears, it's gonna be loud here in 2 seconds, but there we go. You can see it's pretty fucking flush with the hood, but then as we start to get right about here in this particular spot, it's not really flush because it sits a little high. Again, I think this is an aftermarket fender, and that's why this isn't as accurate. You know, you can't really tell what's aftermarket from stock other than the bumper. The bumper, I can tell what's aftermarket from stock. And this fender, I think particularly, is actually a aftermarket fender. It's not OEM. But all the creases look pretty damn good. I got this hood pretty accurate too as far as the lines go. I think it looks pretty good. I think I need to adjust it though, just a tad on the bottom though, so I'll probably loosen those bolts up to fix the gap a little bit at the bottom. There's even kind of a gap here, honestly. Yeah, so I may have to toy with this one just a little bit, but for the most part it's pretty on point though. That's really interesting. Yeah, there's like I don't even know if that fender on this side of the car, because I think I may have replaced this one at one point too, if this one's aftermarket too or not, but because it has a bit of a ding or a dent or something right here that may have been machined wrong or something. But that's so tiny and minuscule, you're never going to notice that. So yeah, car's coming along. I'm debating if I'm going to take the bumper off and sand that separate tube back there. I'm thinking I'm going to. The hood will probably have to come off too. I think I'm going to do the hood separately. When we first painted this car initially, I actually put some Bondo up in this part of the hood because I had accidentally burnt a hole through it when I was using a sander at one point. So that's no bueno, so we have to fix that. Well, no, I mean, it already is fixed, but I mean, the chips that are in the hood though, there's a few chips that I noticed in the hood that I think I've gotten over the course of the years that I've had this paint job. I can't really find one, but I did see one on the front of the hood at one point. I don't know where I found it, but I'm pretty sure I could probably sand it out. I just need to know where the hell it was, but whatever. So yeah, I might do the hood separately too. Anything that's just not metal has to probably be sanded professionally by hand, you know, like you really want to get a feel for it, because we are dealing with softer materials, you know, fiberglass, plastic, and just using a sander on those types of materials is really harsh on them. I was even apprehensive to do it on the bumper, and it turned out fine, but I really just don't want to try to use a sander as much as possible on the softer materials, like again, plastic, fiberglass, or even carbon fiber, I'd imagine too. So that's why I prefer doing these things by hand, because the end results are even 10 times better than it is to use a sander. Typically, you want to use a sander on the metal parts of the car, you know, to make it easier, and because they're you can't sand through metal, right? So I mean, it's not like it's gonna burn a hole through metal. So that's why it's better to just save the sanding for the whole rest of the car. Well, the sander in anyway. But yeah, I don't want to bore you guys, so that's the video today. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I will get you in the next video. Peace out.